We are working very hard on our second channel, Degenerate Plays, where we hope you will join us for podcast-style gameplay, let's plays, full playthroughs. I can't speak today. We would love to see you over there where we can hang out, play through some games together, and have a fantastic time. Link is in the description below. We are trying to get this to 7,500 subs before the end of the month, and only you can help me do that. So I appreciate it, and I hope to see you over there. Now, this is the second video, the second day in a row where I'm making a video which will likely make me 0 friends in the gaming industry or the entertainment industry or any of these industries because a lot of people do not like getting called out. But why do gamers really dislike gaming journalists, and why do people not respect gaming journalism? A lot of people have gone over this already. The Kotaku PlayStation 5 review, which gets very existential, dark, and weird, talking about the PS5. Now, if I was to make a review for the PlayStation 5 on my channel, what would you expect to see? Would you expect to see the console itself and all the things it can do and sort of my opinion about it? I would assume that's it. What if I made it about the current state of the world? What if I made my review about, those awful politicians ruining our planet? Would you like that? Would you find that interesting, maybe? Would you say, oh man, this really enlightened me on the PlayStation 5? No, probably not. You probably didn't come there for that. You don't care for it and you don't need it. That's what happened with this Kotaku article. And we're not just going to look at this one. We are going to look at a lot of bad takes here today. But this one is pretty funny. The world is still reeling under the weight of the word pandemic. I don't want to push daddy YouTube here. There are more Americans out of work right now than at any point in the country's history. Absolutely, and that's a fair take. You can definitely write about that in its own thing. With no relief in sight, our healthcare system is an inherently evil institution that forces people to ration life-saving medications like insulin and choose self-deletion over suffering with untreated mental illness. As I'm writing this, it looks very likely that Joe Biden will be our next president, but it's clear that the worst people aren't going away just because a new old white man is sitting behind the Resolute desk. Well, at least not this old white man. Our government is fundamentally broken in a way that necessitates radical change rather than incremental electoralism. I do think that people are tired of everything being politicized. Every single take is politicized. And now this is something as well, even on our Let's Play channel, sometimes we'll get into discussions about things going on in the world, or just, hey, it can jump from what movies are you playing right now, or hey, have you played this game before, to hey, what's your opinion on this thing that's going on? Absolutely. When you have certain contexts, like hanging out in a radio style context, or maybe you are a poli-sci major and now you're a political journalist, something like that, or you're in the right context, those things are totally fine. There's actually nothing wrong with them. But I do think that gamers overall, a lot of them use gaming to escape. Some of them do think about stuff as the game, absolutely, but they don't go to a review to be lectured on the problems with the healthcare industry and with the problems of the American presidential system or any of that stuff. I didn't come to the PS5 review to find out why the Electoral College should be abolished. I came to the PS5 review to find out what you think about the PS5. And what sucks is there's a lot of good writing in here about the PS5 just in general, about things like Astro's Playroom, about the controller, about the ray tracing, the frame rate, all this stuff, the SSD and how that performance adds in. There's a lot of stuff that this author did that was great in this article, but they always have to kind of come down to making something super political, because to these people, everything is political. Everything. And some of my favorite games are political. Metal Gear Solid is political, absolutely. But I don't ever feel like I'm getting preached at when I play those things, or when I watch Blade Runner or anything like that. This is not the time or place, I guess is what I'm getting at. Now, if I'm a little disjointed, it is 2 a.m., so apologies from me. But I don't think people want to get preached at when they go to check out a PlayStation 5 review. It is also incredibly patronizing. It gets into some crazy stuff. So, for example, blah, 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 talking about how people can't buy a PS5, or if they can, concerns over increasing austerity in the US and the growing threat of widespread political violence supersede any enthusiasm about the console's SSD or how ray tracing makes reflections more realistic. That's not to say you can't be excited for those things, I certainly am on some level, but there's an irrefutable level of privilege attached to the ability to simply tune out the world as it burns around you. Oh boy. And what's weird is there's a weird level of self-reflection here too. I won't deny that video games can be an escape. You know, that's the thing here, is that for a lot of people, video games are an escape, and that's totally fine for them. And to lecture people about how they have privilege and stuff is ridiculous, because if we really want to get into that as... I'm gonna go credentialist on this now, because these people love going credentialist. As someone who was a teacher, and as someone who did go to college, and did go through the liberal arts program, Ringer, like I'm sure a lot of these people did, and I do know how to speak in this vernacular. Yes, it is a real job, but you are extremely privileged to be able to write about video games as a job. That's a privilege. You have a connection to the internet. You have running water and electricity, I would assume, so that you can do your job. Those are privileges, if we want to go there. If we really want to go there, many homeless people in the United States would be considered privileged compared to people in other parts of the world, whether they are people of your same ethnicity or not, or regardless of sexual orientation, they would be privileged. So the problem with this is that as much as everyone hates slippery slope, this is a ridiculous slippery slope, because everything becomes about this narrative if you really want to drag it there. And to drag it there in a PS5 review is just obnoxious. Another thing that people are tired of is being told about how entitled they are. And that's a big point here too. What other industries can you think of where people just insult you over and over again, but they expect you to come back? Walking into a Kotaku article half the time, it's like walking into a it's like walking into a hardcore BDSM chamber as a receiver. You know, it's like you are expected to keep coming back and you're going to enjoy it. Now, if you love that, you love being talked down to and all that stuff, absolutely, good for you. I'm happy you're a big fan of masochism, but most of us aren't. We look at things like when this was back quite a while actually, but when Gamasutra, or Gamasutra, however you want to, pronounce it, no one really cares, said gamers don't have to be your audience because gamers are over. And this was quite a long time ago. This was 2014. This is back closer to GG and that whole situation that no one cares about anymore, or at least they shouldn't and probably never should have. But the whole thing was about how basically bad gamers are in a lot of ways. When we look at this, I often say I'm a video game culture writer, but lately I don't know exactly what that means. Game culture, as we know, it is kind of embarrassing. It's not even culture. It's buying things, spackling over memes and in-jokes repeatedly, and it's getting mad on the internet. It's young men queuing with plush mushroom hats and backpacks and jutting promo poster rolls, queuing patiently. By the way, queuing is waiting in a line. This is a United Kingdom and European statement, or phrase, for those of you who don't know. Passionately for hours at events around the world to see things that marketers want them to see. It goes on to talk about the GG situation, the G-Gate situation, which you can look up yourself if you don't know about it, with Anita Sarkeesian and some of these other people. But it's funny because a lot of this is just talking down to you. And what it really comes down to, this was even vernacular back then, is coming down to the idea of, if you disagree with me, you're the bad guy. You don't want to be divisive? Who's being divided, except for people who are okay with an infantilized cultural desert of crappy behavior and people who aren't? What is there to debate? So this is somebody who is writing about games and talking about gaming who clearly hates it, or at least just has a general disdain for the people who enjoy the hobby. I think that that's kind of a big issue with this profession. And I I was unsure if I should even make this because there are absolutely games journalists that are not like this, that are super excited for gaming. They love interacting with people who read their articles, and they're extremely nice people. But the problem is they get overshadowed by people like this. This has been going on for a long time. It is not a new thing. This has been going on since the early 2010s and before. This sort of anger towards your own audience. And now, granted, when I make a video, I do what I want to do, you know? I make a video and I say, all right, how do I make this fun or interesting or enlightening or enjoyable at the very least for the widest amount of people? But how do I make something for me? Because at the end of the day, I need to enjoy my life and not hate myself. Well, okay, so today I'm going to talk about this. That's kind of what I go into. And I do my best to release things on a fairly consistent schedule, multiple videos a week. And I run 2 channels and I try to keep you guys entertained and having a fun time. And I wouldn't do it if I wasn't having a fun time. And that's a big problem that I see in this industry is a lot of people are doing it and they're not having a good time. And it doesn't mean that you will never have a bad day at your job. I absolutely have bad days on YouTube. Actually, right before recording this, it was 2 a.m. I usually go to bed pretty late, but I was like, I just kind of want to go play Kingdom Hearts. I don't really want to do this. Then I thought about it and I was like, no, actually, I do want to do it because of X, Y, and Z. You know, that's the thing. And it really comes down to I enjoy what I'm doing. A lot of these people don't enjoy it. And instead of that, they really go on to push off this idea onto all these people around them in order to make them feel bad or like the villain or like they're entitled and responsible. Entitled is a big word that comes up with gaming journalists as well. When we look at something like Diablo Immortal, Diablo Immortal reveal gives entitled gamers a new chance to look like asses. From Mashable.com back in November 3rd, 2018, this is a prevailing attitude in the gaming sphere. We even had this way back when Mass Effect 3 got its really bleh ending that a lot of people didn't like and people wanted a new one. And there was a lot of words like entitled thrown around by people, especially journalists back then. There's always this speaking down to mentality in games journalism. Diablo 3, you can't log in and you shouldn't care. This was way back in 2012, really pushing back there. Here's 5 things you should be doing while Blizzard's trying to make their most amazing addition to the RPG. Shut up. Seriously, stop whining. Making this stuff work for a rush of millions is verging on rocket science. It happens for pretty much every major online game, including Battlefield 3 and Modern Warfare 3, and you should be used to it by now. Just be patient and let Blizzard fix it. Save your bile for something that actually matters, like the fact that you have little chance of achieving your life goals because you can't stop playing computer games. And the thing is, this might absolutely be a joke in some ways, 100%. I'm not against humor. But when it's just a consistent push of vitriolic attacks, you know, of you're entitled, you're an idiot, you're stupid, get over it, shut the hell up, move on, you're nothing, you're stupid, why do you like games? And it's people who are writing about this stuff telling you why you shouldn't care. Circling back all the way around, when Kotaku was called out by tons of people for this PlayStation 5 review where they said, oh, you know, basically you're privileged if you can buy a PS5, feel bad, they doubled down on it. On Twitter, Steven Totillo, which I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but you have some pretty bad takes, who is the Kotaku editor-in-chief, straight up said, I am proud to have published the season's most discussed console review. Bonus, it seems to have pissed off a lot of the right people. And that's the thing, is they are constantly trying to poke at you, prod at you, make you mad, annoy you. Oh man, time to kick the toxic gamers. Let's see them cuss and get angry. You know, they treat you like a baby. And then they wonder why people don't like them, why their websites are dying, why YouTubers are replacing them. And here's why. Yes, I didn't go to journalism school. Yes, I don't know all the fancy words that you do despite having a writing and English degree in teaching. Yes, I may not have all the exact same qualifications as you, but I know how to build an audience. I know how to treat people with respect. And I have off days, absolutely. I have days where I say something stupid or have a bad take or just am an idiot, which is just a 24/7 occupation For me, being an idiot's an occupational hazard for me, and I'm constantly falling into it. So yes, absolutely, not perfect, but I don't consistently alienate my audience. I don't consistently alienate the people who are helping me make a living, and I don't consistently tell them that they're entitled for wanting to see something or anything like that. At the worst, if they say, I really want to see this, and I just say, well, I kind of want to make this thing, I'll get to that eventually, or I'm trying to back off from that a little bit. Like the Batman stuff, when I was pushing really hard into that and I decided to scale back some, and some people were disappointed, and I get that. And for me, it was like, hey, I get it. It's frustrating to me that that's all I feel like some people care about, but I'm trying to do stuff that makes me happy as well, and I hope you'll check this out. It was never like, screw you, you're an idiot and you're entitled. That's really a bad attitude, and it's a horrible take, and it's very, as they would say, toxic. You know, these are some of the reasons. And the bad apples at the end of the day are what are drawing the most attention. Now, at the end of the day, this is not to say I hate all games journalism, or I hate all games journalists, or there's no place for it and it's not a real job, or any of those things. I don't feel that way about any of it at all. I know for a fact there's plenty of good gaming journalists and plenty of great gaming sites where you can read articles and do all this other stuff. And there's plenty of bad YouTubers that add nothing to discussion. I know some people think I'm one of them, and fair enough. But these are the reasons why gamers as a whole are tired of games journalism. Constant politicizing of every issue, pushing their own narrative off on random things that have nothing to do with what they're talking about. A really often treating you like a child mentality, where it's like you're just entitled, you don't know what you're talking about, just shut that all up and enjoy my product. All this stuff and a constant disconnect. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I have no ill will towards these people or any of them in particular at all, or even any of the sites. I make a lot of jokes about like CBR, for example, as a website. It's all in good fun. I don't really care. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Let me know what they are. Be sure to check out the Let's Play channel in the description down below. I would love to see you there. We're trying to grow that, and I hope that you will be a part of the community over there. Thank you very much. Stay awesome, and you're not entitled, and I do actually like you, and I don't hate you. Just kidding, I hate you. Please keep watching my videos.